Welcome back to the State Farm Analyst Desk. Last week, Broxa and the rest of the CLG squad found quite a bit of success by, among many things, picking the absolute best champion in the game of League of Legends, Vi. And so I figured we should dive in.
Biased.
What are you talking about? Only objective journalism here on the LCS. That's what I'm known for. Let's talk draft. Because I think both teams within this matchup have had interesting and somewhat unique approaches to draft. But let's start with CLG.
Yeah, I mean, the crux of their comp for me was the Vi-Galio combination. And within that, they had little flexes around. They had the Set in the top lane sometimes. They had the Kalista in the bot lane. They paired it with Rakan in both those first 3 games, I believe it was. And so for me, when I look at this draft, it's obvious that they're wanting a lot of hard engage. And that's where I think, as the team drafting against them, you have to prepare for the fact that you're going to be dealing with multiple forms of engage, and you're going to have tools to deal with that.
Yeah, and in addition to that, we should note that Brox has been really good on Lee, right? And this is a pick that they've actually felt comfortable flexing to mid lane because Pobelter plays it too. So not only is this a pick that gives them a lot of draft flexibility, it allows Broxa to look for flanks later in the game that sort of initiate fights, but not quite as easily as the Vi.
Now, when we talk about what has made these drafts successful, obviously we've pointed to the R button. But I'm also curious, to a degree, what makes these champions successful together and/or what they're dependent on to be successful, thinking most notably the Vi.
Right. I think when teams are, obviously they're picking team fight champions, right? Whether you're picking like super kiting ones where you have like double 80 carry and like a bomb or something, or you're picking full dive, it's something you get to practice all week. And generally speaking, when you're doing full dive, it's very clear that there's only one way you can play the game, right? Like you're not flanking, you're not like doing these side angles, you're just literally running at them. As you saw, the Vi ulted from like his side of the map onto the other side. Terrible engage, still works out. It's very easy to do one thing, and if the enemy team isn't prepared for that, it's hard to play against that. It's very easy to hit Fire R into Galio R. You can miss the entire thing, whatever. You still have like 5 more CC.
Flatly, is Vi good, or is Vi paired with specifically these 4 other champions made good?
Yeah, I think Vi is good when CLG drafts Galio and Rakan and all these units who can also follow up from a long range. Because as Hai said, you can even have a terrible engage, but if Galio is just ulting onto your head and Rakan is jumping from a screen away as well, it turns out to be a pretty good engage.
And Hai, I want to come back to you on the point you were just making, where it can be a bad engage, but as long as all of the champions are committed to that and playing into that style, it can be effective. And even more so when the opposing team is caught off guard by that strategy. So if I'm now to put you in Immortals' shoes, what is your approach to beating this CLG style of draft?
Well, obviously having a champ or a team that only has R buttons, that's not the only way to win the game, right? Otherwise, everyone in the world would just do that. If I were IMT, I would just do something as simple as picking win lane, win game. If you can only team fight and you can only press R to do those team fights, you can just stop them from being strong before that even happens. Win top, win mid, win bot, because generally press R champions are not strong early game. Just destroy them in the lane phase and make it so they can't even fight the team fights.
Mark, explain this graphic.
So for me, this was my suggestion for like Immortals bans heading into this game. I felt like the Galio enabled the Vi. And if you get rid of that, you can get rid of a couple of the combinations. It gives lane pressure early. It follows up on these deep engages. And you can kind of control the early game and then get team fights with it. It's global. It does so much. Get rid of that. Get rid of the Kalista early game. And then for me, it was also get rid of the Lee Sin because Brox is just popping off. That one's just a respect ban. That's not a comp ban.
Yeah. And in addition to that, I'd actually like to see IMT counter this a bit with draft, right? Like you can pick stuff like Thresh, which Destiny has been really good on. In fact, that game where Destiny and Raze dominated CLG's bot lane and went like 15 in OKDA, it was on that. And also picks like Gragas, which Xerxes is pretty comfortable on from the jungle. So I think making sure that in addition to having good bans, having a good draft that gives you disengage options, granted, if the laning phase doesn't go as well as you want, is really essential.
All right, Mark, so far
Give me number 3, baby!
2 for 3, baby!
So when I was prepping that, I actually thought they were blue side. So I will say that was
good. You're doing your homework.
Well, I looked at the graphic. I got misinformation, but I understand the Gwen ban over the potential Galio here. Maybe you can say like, oh, we'll just split it up if they end up taking the first pick and you have a little bit of time to react. Either way, I agree with the Gwen ban. It's a very terrifying champ to leave up, and we've seen Finn play it a couple times.
I don't think the Galio ban's that good either, because you can replace Galio with like things like Lissandra like they had before. Like Galio is just one piece that fits it. Like Vi is probably the main one, but you don't ban Vi because honestly, Vi on her own.
If you're banning Vi,
she probably sucks. No offense, Dash, but on her own, she probably sucks.
Wow. Could have just left her untouched. No, I hear that 100%.
And the Galio one is, I think, the most contentious point. Even like looking at how the coaches approached the weekend, they left it up the second game, and the third game it got banned. That's when the Lissandra started coming in. And I think that's the pressure that you get put into when you have what feels like a hyper-specific set of champions. You start trying to be like, well, what are the most important pieces? They grabbed the set again, which is a huge flex pick as well. We've seen it only go top lane in this comp, but in theory, if you're going for a hard engage comp, it could easily pivot mid here for CLG.
Yeah. And
well, there it is.
Oh,
there it is. Yeah, and I really like this draft so far because this is pretty much just in their comfort zone as Marcus freaking out over here.
It's the same draft!
It's the same draft, yeah. It's pretty much the same draft that they've had before, minus the Callista, but I think once you already have the Vi, the Galio, and the set, you don't need the additional 8 engage from bot lane, and there's still picks available to CLG, like a Leona, for example, that they could run bot, and they have before. So I think they're going to be fine to get basically 4 forms of engage here.
That's what I'm curious to see what they do for Immortals after. So they take away the Tristana here. They already have the Callista ban. Those are the 280 carries that we saw with it, as well as the fact that there was the Rakan support. So we will see how much Immortals actually respects this comp, because they haven't banned any part of it yet.
Yeah, well, so at this point, though, is the support the piece that you feel like needs to hit the ban table twice in a row here for Immortals? Get that Rakan out, get those extra couple pieces of engage?
Well, the problem here is there's so many supports that do the job that CLG needs to do, right? They can swap out the Rakan for Leona, for example, as I mentioned before.
You could even take the set down there.
Yeah, you could even flex the set. So I think right now, if you're IMT, you're just focused on making sure that you have the tools to just stop early game. As Hai was saying, like you really want to make sure that you're getting a favorable matchup bot so that even if set is there, you have a Trist plus maybe even a range support to make sure that you're getting the leads you want in lane.
I think the Kai'Sa ban's kind of necessary here. If you look at CLG's comp, there's not really damage yet. They have dive, yes, but they need damage to follow it up. If IMT doesn't ban Kai'Sa there, they're probably trolling. Good thing they do. To fill out the rest of the comp, they can really do anything. That Karma is a flex pick right now that could either go top, mid, or support. She doesn't really struggle in lane against either Galio or Set, and I imagine those are probably gonna go mid and top rather than support. So if IMT are continue drafting this, their mid laner or top laner, whatever they choose to do with the Karma, they just need to make it so that that character can't get dove that hard. Whether it be like a person that has like a lot of counter engage or rushes Hourglass or is like an assassin even. Because right now they win in damage, they win in late game, just need to not get, you know, slam jammed by like 5 characters onto one person.
Yeah, we'll see though, because they already have the slam jam components.
Right.
I like CLG getting rid of some of the lane dominant supports with the Thresh, for example, so that they can, because that's the concern that.
Rush down,
Yeah, we're talking about getting run over in the early game. That almost felt like it could have happened in the third game when it was Dignitas piloting the Karma mid, and I believe it was with the Xin. But so much went wrong topside in that game that it didn't really matter. And here we go.
There's the Rakan.
Oh, that's gross.
And it's going to be Lucian bot lane.
That lane sucks, by the way. Lucian Rakan,
They don't do much
that's
together.
a very
It's a
weak
Braum.
bot lane.
Yeah.
Against Trist, Braum.
I mean, it's not that like they're bad against specifically Tristana Braum. Just as a duo, they're not very strong as a whole.
Right.
It's very I don't like it personally, but
I mean, this is what kind of happened last game too, is they didn't, in the Dignitas game, they didn't draft for lane, they drafted for their comp. And so, I mean, Lucian can dash in and contribute a little bit in the dive, because that's what Hai was saying, you want damage that can get in there.
And the Jace. So I think the Jace is a bit of an interesting pick. I know everyone's like NA Jace and
interesting as in bad or interesting as good? Because I lean heavily towards bad.
I don't love it, but I mean, if they're committing to, hey, we're gonna play Xin and we're just gonna try to shut down the early game and like make the fact that CLG has basically gotten their god comp except for the Lucian, then I guess this is what you go for. So I don't hate it, but yeah, I think there are better picks available too.
Now, I feel like I already know the answer. I just want to get you on record as we have this conversation around CLG drafting style. Given that they got 4 out of the 5 champions they have played before and just are chucking in a Lucian instead of a Callista, Mark, do you think they got what they wanted? Did they get that style once again?
I feel like I have to say yes on their behalf, because they clearly knew CLG was gonna draft this stuff. When you do those bans, you know CLG is gonna do this, and so the Braum and Karma are very targeted about surviving big engages.
Right, I think IMT definitely lost his draft. I would have changed that last pick for sure. They're very heavily indexed into 80 damage right now, especially since Karma's gonna go support Karma. She's not gonna go AP mid. So you have 4 tanks that are hard diving you that can stack or armor. I don't understand the Jace pick here. Like, yes, he can win lane early game, but you really need to smash this early game, or once everyone on CLG starts getting ninja tabas and armor, it's so doomed for IMT.
I mean, Gilhoto was the one talking about the full bongo comp from CLG. He was
That's true.
There it is.
He diagnosed, he gave it the name.
right, and he drafted right into it.
Oh no, disaster may have just struck. Anyway, that's what we think it's up to the players to put it all out there on the Rift. From here, we're tossing it over to Flowers and Raz for the call.
Thank you very much, everybody on the desk. I am Captain Flowers. This is Raz, and we will be taking you through these last couple games of the day. You just heard them already break down the draft over there on the desk, talking about CLG getting a lot of the pieces they were looking for.
Yeah, understandable. Even seeing the fan votes out there
Yeah.
lean heavily towards CLG. So for me, looking at this, I feel for being on red side on this one because I understand the Lee Sin ban. I understand it's incredibly flexible and it's just Brox's special pick, right? And I can understand Gwen to a great degree. Kallista's also it's one of those things that if you're just not doing well in the bot lane and it just has so much control. You saw just the last game what Kallista was able to accomplish up until the Baron fight.
Up until that fateful moment. Well, now it's up to Immortals to see if they can stop the CLG win streak here in this one. One thing I do want to point out, because it's one of those runes that is not often the one that you see, Predator on Finn for some extra playmaking here on the set. So we'll see if he can find the angles that he's looking for in there. Also worth noting, Turtle and Smoothie going for an exhaust and ignite combo there for their bottom lane duo as opposed to the heal exhaust of their opponents. So things are a little bit different down there. And also a quick reminder, we got Pro View. And if we got Pro View, that means we got free matchups. And the free matchup for this one will be up there in that top lane, Finn versus Revenge. So if you're ever wondering how to play against Jace a little bit better and not want to bang your head into the keyboard, watch that one and see if you can learn a thing or two. But right now, we're going to have to keep our eyes on the whole map, both junglers starting on opposite sides.
There it is. And here's the thing. You know, this composition, I mentioned this previously, it was played multiple times within Academy, and drafting against it, you just have to be confident that you're playing for your lanes early, right? Even when you're setting up for objectives, you should be confident that Karma's going to get the shove on towards Galio. Top lane's going to be the same with Jace versus the set, and also he's going to be getting the support from Xerxes, who's playing towards the top side, right? All of these are happening, so you have to give the assumption that IMT is going to get first touch on objectives consistently. It's about the first wave of wards, right?
Yeah.
When CLG is going into your vision, you have to be able to punish them. I love the Braum pick for that purpose.
Okay.
So that, hey, if it's going to be the Rakan or the Galio, Vi, someone that face checks first, they have to get fully punished. That's what I'm looking for if IMT is to take this one.
Okay, right now everything's looking pretty normal here. We are seeing full side clears in those starting quadrants for both junglers. So now they'll head over onto their respective red buffs. Of course, there won't be anywhere to really go here for Xerxes up in the top lane. Both of his solo lanes really have control.
And you mentioned just briefly about that Predator pick on the top lane. If you're just going to be in an uninteractive matchup, a ranged matchup top side, then going towards a utility, we've seen consistently, people in different matchups going for something that's more focused outside of the lane, as you said.
Yeah.
So it is Finn just focusing on those team fights. Great damage on towards Raze.
Yeah, really nice stuff. Got that in there with a piercing light right before Destiny was able to jump in and throw up the shield to protect him. However, we do have Broxa down here. It doesn't look like this should be diveable at all, but he will be ready to shadow these guys just in case there was a play coming out. But we, of course, know that Xerxes is on the other side of the map. He'll just continue moving back and looking to farm more as well.
Yeah, a very respectful game. I think both these teams, early in the previous split, in the early portions of the game, would be running suspect in their early game, right? Mostly IMT. IMT's first 10 minutes in the spring split would boom in some way, and that would give the enemy team like a substantial lead. And so the fact that this is a pretty stable game, and they've been a pretty damn good team fighting comp, or at least team fighting team that is, later on, is reassuring. I also just think that the way this map is being set up, IMT is in a good position to fight for first dragon. So let's see how that ends up panning out as bottom camps are being pinned. It's going to be spawning up here for Xerxes. So good idea to kind of just back away and go for that right now.
Yep, you saw Broxa get his back off a little bit earlier, went back to base, picked up the Sheen, which of course lets us know he will continue to be going for that Divine Sunderer into most likely tank build that we've seen Vi find success on so far. Xerxes going back, getting a pickaxe here for himself, increasing the damage of those ganks that he's able to pick off and get something rolling here. Of course, nobody's been picked off yet. We still have no violence here, no summoner spells really being spent anywhere on the map. Both teams are pretty content just playing this one slow early on.
And this is a good opportunity to just talk about CLG's new identity. Even getting makeup and all that, just hearing IMT, I think it was Revenge calling out, hey, Doinby to Poe Belter, right? Coming into this. Because it really is a new identity for CLG with the struggle that they've had coming into this split to just say, pedal to the metal, just go straight into a full, dive team fight composition. Even if they were to be denied a Galio for this comp, they wouldn't want to go towards a Vi. They already picked the composition that is team fight heavy without that beforehand, right? That was the Lissandra that we saw from Pobelter. So it's really nice to see for a team that is struggling to realize, okay, just focus hyper focus on one thing that we can be good at, that we can practice heavily for, even if we're pushed off of a specific pick, that we can have things that make practice, realistic for us, that we know we're going to be in game day with.
And we already saw that they know how to convert that into wins after that incredible 3-0 performance last week. So now it's up to their opponents to be able to answer and say, all right, you know what they're coming to the table with. You need to have crafted the proper answer to it. And that's what Immortals believe that this approach with the Xin and the Karma is going to do. Brox is already over the wall, using the ability that Vi has to solo that down very effectively, nice and early on. And he will pick that up right as Xerxes strolling on through the bottom side river, and Broxa is out of there.
That was just a great setup from CLG. Their bottom lane pushed out, and they were also leaning towards the Vi. Checked out if there was going to be a ward there, the great control ward, to make sure that, Xerxes had no information. And so even though he was pathing in that direction, and he was going to get to that point, right? He was clearing up just Raptors at that stage. Yes, just enough time for Vi to be able to pick that one up. Great job.
And I like the fact that they knew how much time it would take for Broxa to be able to solo that.
Yeah.
Because it can be very dangerous trying to sneak a Drake away and solo that down when the Scuttle Crab is going to spawn in bottom side river.
Yes.
It will naturally attract the attention of the other jungler, even if he would otherwise not have a reason to be there.
Yeah.
So calculating that and getting out in time, very important.
Mission impossible. Bullets of sweat coming down your forehead. Do I have enough time? Lucian's just like, just enough.
Just enough. All right, up here in the top lane, Finn versus Revenge. The name of the game in a Jace lane is often don't fall too far behind.
Yes.
You usually don't expect somebody else to beat them, but you got to stay close. And 57-58 is very close.
The criticism that I heard from High talking about how it is a heavy AD composition is true. Like later on in the game, it's going to be difficult to deal with the beefy units. Engage!
Nicely done. Interrupting the rocket jump, throwing Raze up into the air, and with the culling coming down, Destiny very, very low. Raze forced to use the heal.
Yeah, and that just means you're in dive range because Pobelter has ultimate. If he wants to, he can make that move. But he's leaning topside just because they're looking for revenge. And so it goes back to my original point, which was, like, I was kind of expecting a tank. If you have a Galio being picked up and a Vi there, we talk about how that impactful for CLG in the middle portions of the game. In the early game, it's really impactful for a carry top laner, whoever you are, right?
Yeah.
If it's a Twisted Fate or a Galio, you're just going to get three-man dove fairly easily. So I'm just concerned for Revenge. He has to play super cautiously. He was, thankfully. But this is just going to be the case for him from this point onwards.
Yeah, and when you look at all of the champions on Immortals roster, there's so many of them that are so incredibly vulnerable to that CLG Wombo combo. Yes, Xinjiao has the ability to knock away some of them, most of them with the ulti if he gets jumped on. But Karma, Jace, Tristana, you're just dead. I'm sorry, there's not a whole lot that's going to happen if everybody layers it correctly. You can see the Rift Arrow getting aggroed there, but the wind becomes lightning over the wall. Checking in on the farm here in the jungle, as neither Xin or Vi is one of those power farmers that dominated the meta for so long, right? This isn't one of your Udyrs, one of your Rumbles, one of your why the hell does her pool do 300% damage to monsters, Morganas. So these two both just trying to make sure they're keeping those camps cleared while also affecting the map. Might have ourselves a bit of a team fight. Oh! He steals it with the spear. But Xerxes will have to make a risky play to move in, and we're going to get the team fight instead. They're ready to go in all the way with Broxa starting it off. Nice heroic entrance coming in. Insanity's going to be taken down first. First blood over to Finn as they'll continue looking for more. Immortals have made a bad decision, and Destiny is going to pay with it with his life. Broxa wants to go over the wall, but he will not be able to get there. And now we got ourselves a 2-for-2.
Hey, there we go. 2-for-2 and a stolen Rift Trail. They put it all out there just to be able to get that one. So great job from IMT. They knew it was going to be a risk, and they gambled it all. Great job.
It looked so sketchy there at the start, right? When the Wombo combo was popping off. Let's take another look at how it ended up being a 2-for-2 play.
So taking a look, they wanted to be able to go for this collapse as Jace is coming through. Karma's also collapsing first, but it was just recognizing that once the Vi comes in with the Galio ultimate just on top of that, it's a straight all-in. I want to see how smooth he actually starts off this fight as well, if there is a follow-up to get the kill on towards Karma. The risk is if you don't blow her up, remember summoners are up there, so flashes just to get close to your team. It just takes too long to get these kills. Even Destiny buying for more time That's the risk involved there. So Cersei being able to pick up 2 kills now in this fight is going to be big for him.
And that stun right there at the very end onto Broxa before he was able to hit the blast cone, so important.
Yeah.
If he gets back over the wall to both of his waiting teammates, you can't chase him because then you lose the 2v3. So very, very important stuff on that stun coming through there. Destiny doing what he can to interrupt some backs here in the bottom half of the map. And after all of that gets done and the dust settles, we've got a completely even game. 1 neutral objective for each side. Infernal Drake traded for the Rift Herald there, thanks to the good steal from Xerxes. He is down here in the bottom lane. Turtle is very low on mana.
Yeah, we have a
to be
risky
careful.
situation here for CLG because there's no mana, as you said, for Wild Turtle, and they have the Rift Herald set up there. IMT has first move from Karma too. They don't even need the teleport that she's going to be getting in like 20 seconds time. So if this base comes through from Wild Turtle, that's just an open turret now. So great job early in this game from IMT.
Yup, Finn doing a good job up here as well, running into a good position to get the face breaker off of the minions and put some damage into Revenge. Shelly is summoned up in the bottom lane. They will just use this. Oh boy, Turtle's running away. Dashes back, still has half HP left. Not a whole lot else going on. Shelly will get the charge. We'll see if Immortals want to follow that charge and make any sort of a dive here. Turtle is low. Calling comes down. Shelly gets a little bit more damage. Will die there, only getting the 2 guaranteed plates, and Immortals back away. Or do they? Might see if we get some sneakiness in the tri-brush. No.
Yeah, they just need to be able to base here, and that gives a window for Xin Zhao to just go for the dragon here. So that's going to be dragon and some turret plates, just because Wild Turtle was running low on, too low on mana, so he wasn't going to be able to support any fights. Another note to put here, because there is a Tristana in this game, Wild Turtle elected to go exhaust instead of the heal. So while that's great, if he's playing defensively, if Raze is trying to get a reset in a fight,
Yeah.
it's just going to make laning a little bit harder here.
And just the nature of Tristana, right? She yeets herself into the middle of the fight to do 1,000,000 damage and try to get a reset.
Yep.
But Exhaust is just incredible at shutting down the way that she wants to play the team fight. So I
Yeah.
always like seeing players take this summoner spell against this champion in particular. And we're looking at the state of the game here. Immortals got a nice, tidy little gold lead off of that play in the bottom lane, off of being able to farm up the extra minions and get the charge off of the Rift Herald. But now let's see what else they're looking for, because the Scuttle Crab will be contested here. Broxa secures it and gets away in time.
All right, good job there. And also just great vision in transition towards the top lane. So that's going to make it a lot easier for CLG if they do want to make a play towards the Jace. Just to make note, I think all the gold being on towards the Xin Zhao is a great idea. Oh no.
Here we go. Nice stun, and there is the ulti. He is in trouble. Revenge just gets killed by the haymaker.
Hands off the keyboard, you can't do anything.
You're done. You're done. But is Smoothie in some trouble now? No, he gets over the wall. Nicely
criminal.
done there. But yeah, that top lane, man, as soon as he face breakers you into the minion, it's over. It's over.
Yeah. He thought he got away clean there too, because Broxa took the Scuttle Crab, backed away. He thought he was just going to farm up his camps, but snuck straight in towards the bush. Yeah. Great job overall there to make a play towards that Jace, and that's the fragility that Jace has. Thankfully, he kept onto his flash, didn't blow at that situation, so he can come back into the lane, and he won't get bullied.
Yeah, because I mean, even if you use the flash there, you're not getting away, right?
Yep.
After he uses the ult, you're already way too close to the other guy's turret. So down here in the bottom lane, we're seeing Xerxes again. Pay attention to this bottom lane 2v2. His lane is not winning in this matchup, right? Raze is 20 CS down compared to his opponent. He doesn't have his mythic item completed yet. Wild Turtle does. So Xerxes' presence down here is making sure this doesn't continue to bleed.
Yeah, and that he can get to his item, like you said. This is going to be pretty rough for Revenge. And it feels like the trade pattern here has been pretty consistent, that Finn has been the one, now that he has Stride Breaker, closing the distance, getting him stunned up, and then like putting him in DPS. And for Revenge to try and trade at least close to even, he has to be able to commit there, which makes it so it's just a volatile matchup.
Oh,
Close.
He used the Predator, but he doesn't get the angle right on the face breaker. And that means that Finn doesn't get the damage.
Yeah, and I mean, that would just been a burned flash there from Revenge 2 and a possible dive. I mean, it looks like they're going to go for it anyways.
Yeah.
No idea where Pobelter is on the map, and he has teleport, so even if he's not in range of ultimate, can always TP to a ward. So Revenge has to be calling for help here.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's playing safe, that he's going for the Krugs instead of trying to get whatever farm he might be able to from this next wave, knowing about Pobelter, knowing that Broxa is very aware of how easy it is to get this kill even without Pobelter. Xerxes will go for the stab over the wall onto Shelly here. Jumps into the pit. Destiny's up to guard him while he does this. Remember last time, it was CLG going for the Herald, but it was Immortals that stole it away with proper timing of that Xin Zhao Wind Becomes Lightning. This time around, CLG is nowhere near, so both Heralds will go Immortals' way this game.
Yeah, and I just think Immortals have some excellent vision in the enemy blue side jungle, just coding around the area, just in case if anybody ends up walking, that they have an idea and enough time to prepare for the fight. So overall, great job from Immortals to get this type of vision down. And now looking on towards the third dragon, Ocean Dragon, meaning you're playing towards Ocean Soul. I think now they can just play for Rift Herald, place it mid when an opportunity comes up, get priority towards it, get their vision down in towards the dragon side of the map, and Immortals sitting pretty happy.
Yeah, Immortals continue to maintain that small lead that they've had for the past 5 minutes or so now. But with the next Drake spawning in just 60 seconds, we'll see if they can retain that control. You already said earlier, and I want to go back to this, the way things need to work for Immortals, they need to be there first, and they need to punish CLG when they first start checking the wards.
Yes.
So that's what I'm looking for from Immortals here with this dragon on the menu.
The only concern here is while Eclipse was purchased and everything, going for a fight right now.
Never mind, it's already popping off. Broxa with the flash over the wall, and the cavalry has arrived. Xerxes walks away, but how far can he walk? Raze will be the first one to die with Destiny flashing over the wall, but he will fall too. Insanity is the next to go, and everything crumbles for Immortal.
Just weren't ready for the fight. Raze didn't have his Mythic, the Jace wasn't there, and he actually had a huge purchase. He got his Eclipse just for this fight, but it was the Set who was there first with his teleport. Great job from Finn to just solidify the fight for his team.
Finn is 3-0-3 here on the Set. There's always jokes in the League of Legends community. Top lane's just an island. Oh man, I do great as a top laner, but I still can't win games. It doesn't even matter. Well, this man clearly knows the secret. Full kill participation so far, making sure he's there, the right place at the right time, and CLG will win themselves a fight, grab a gold lead, and get that second Drake because of it.
Yeah, he's been doing so damn well this game. And now IMT here are just going to have to play the map. After that failure, it's going to be the gold lead going towards CLG. They're going to feel ultra confident now playing for the team fights, just like what we saw right there. So it's going to be on Revenge now to just try and split the map and for his team to play for that.
We've got ourselves a 6-2 game. We got ourselves about 1,000 gold lead for the side of CLG. And here, let's take a look at our pro view replay of how this went down from Pobelter's point of view.
Yeah, the instant flash from the AD carry. The moment Raze jumped in, he was like, oh, the Galio ulti's coming in. So overall, just great target prior to getting the Braum, then towards the Karma. The the flash had to be instant from Raze there. So even though IMT felt like they were ready, Pobelter was going to be there instantly. The TP coming in from Finn, he was going to be there first. Just a better team fight from CLG.
Okay, so what do you want to see from Immortals now? Because now they've lost that little bit of a lead that they have. Clearly, they did not show the coordination that you wanted to see from them in the last fight because CLG just immediately did the CLG Wombo combo. So how does Immortals come back here and find their counterpunch?
So, as I said before, it was going to be off of Revenge, but they now sent 3 people towards Revenge. He's not going to really have much room to breathe. They have to play side lanes and just try and trade. It's going to be some time, 3 minutes until then. You're going to have to fight for soul point. So trying your hardest to try and pull people and just try and create a mistake from the enemy team, right? If it's Finn going to be alone underneath turret, then you still have a lot of lockdown from Braum, Xin Zhao, and whoever is next to him, the third party, that can at least get a kill for you. So you can try and force a mistake here. But the way CLG's been playing, I don't think it's going to happen.
Okay, also that Shirelli is done. Now the Ardent Sensor next to it, so support Karma's coming online. 2 items completed is one of the nice parts about playing a supportive style of build and champion in a solo lane. You have an economy budget, but a non-economy amount of money coming in. So very easy to hit those item spikes sooner than other players in the game, but it also means he has to be playing in a way that allows him to use it, right? We need to see the Karma grouped up, giving these buffs to everybody, allowing the Sensor Blessing to hit multiple allies and give them that edge they need to win out in these fights. Immortals will be sweeping away some vision from this top side of their own jungle. Baron will be on the map here in about 30 seconds, but I don't believe anybody will be rushing that too quickly here in this game.
Yeah, so my response to that is I love it. I love the itemization. But when you're behind, you're just not going to have the AD carries have space and time to auto. Because you have pretty much Braum that's your solo front line. If Xin Zhao gets picked off with these amount of champions right now who are ahead on CLG side, he's going to get obliterated. So it's just not going to be, I don't see a realm in which Raze or Revenge are going to be confident to really try and just auto-attack the Pobelter or Broxa without getting blown up with the amount of CC or lockdown that they have.
Makes sense. We've also got the Manamune here completed for Revenge.
Nice.
That will evolve into the Muramana here in a little bit more, so it still has a bit additional stacking to go through before that fully comes online. Essence Reaver done for the Lucian as well. Wild Turtle, even though he has no kills, he's still got a 30 farm lead. He's still on a 2-item power spike. This Lucian has so much pop-off potential in a team fight.
Yeah, and when I see Lucian Rakan, you know, great amount of dueling potential and being able to chip at the Braum or the Tristana whenever you have the opportunity in lane, great. But also just really safe. A safe pick that you can kite back pretty well with of course the dash. Now he has Gale Force, the movement speed you can get off Ardent Blaze, ulti, like all these things come into play that just make it really difficult for IMT to even make a play on him. So not only does he have the vision there, not only did he have Smoothie just behind him, just waiting to see if he needs any help. But yeah, he's just going to be able to get out of harm's way anyway. So it's just a pretty rough window here for IMT. If they're looking for a pick, it would have to be Broxa.
Okay, Broxa still honestly very squishy. He has health from Divine Sunderer, yes, but he has Swiftness Boots, which offer no defensive value.
Oh.
Revenge is going in for some damage onto Turtle, but Turtle is not alone. It's a team game, and Revenge makes sure he gets his man. He will die on the exit, but now we got more cavalry coming in. Insanity's already found his way into the fight, and he gets a route down into Broxa. Xerxes ready to jump in and go for the 3 Talon strike, but the flash away keeps the CLG jungler alive. It is not done yet. Galio and Set both pile into the fight, but the disengage is there, and Immortals will lose no one else.
Yeah, we're all topside here as a response, but now they got to pivot towards the dragon that's coming up. CLG wants to go for Soul Point here, so I'm surprised they didn't just leave it be and go and just make the trade happen, right? But at the end of the day, great job from Revenge to flash forward and get the trade as Wild Turtle didn't expect it, didn't see it coming.
Absolutely.
Late exhausted on that one. But it's now going to be IMT making the full map trek towards the dragon. Pretty crazy to see. With so close towards what is CLG's prime focus, they lose it off this top lane play.
Yeah, the play ends up being even, and Immortals take the objective afterwards. You call that a win for them, and the game remains incredibly close between these teams.
Yeah, if I was in CLG's post, I know that CLG were the one that set up for the play on top of Revenge on that one, but there's just no need. You're so far ahead, you should be confident in your team fight there. Just try and go for the setup, go on mid lane wave, try and get first vision on towards it, and really they can't do anything about it. So just thought that they can get the kill without any clapback, but Revenge plays it out incredibly well with the flash. TP comes in from the Karma just to see what they can get. Now Galio has to ult in because he's actually kind of separated from the play. Both Raze and Destiny are kind of in between him, so he's just going to be coming in through his own ultimate. But yeah, it's just a full fight with 30 seconds until your Soul Point comes up. Weird decision.
Okay, now we got what could look like another fight here in the mid lane, but no, CLG will look to disengage this one, walk away. Immortals pushing forward, 2 different sweepers active, making sure that as CLG fall back, they do not have reliable vision that they're dropping down on the way out. Immortals wants to try to maintain as much control over the map as possible with the game state being this close. Remove any extra information that CLG might be able to get. And now we'll see everybody just continue to sort of back away. There's not a lot to fight for right now. Yeah, Baron's live, but it's still pretty early into the game, so CLG is going to send 3 players home.
And the early deficit that we saw in the bot lane is closed. Tristana is now, you know, pretty much in parity in terms of CS. Gold is actually just a 1K gold behind, I guess, around that amount for IMT. So their idea of being able to trade sides has been successful so far. They have a great amount of defensive vision, so if anything from CLG side were to happen towards top side, they can see it a mile away. So it's just been good, calm gameplay from IMT. Also, getting that dragon is saving grace, extends the game quite a bit now.
Yeah. I mean, you also don't have that incredible constant pressure of saying, okay, we can't not fight for this one because it's going to give them soul, right?
Yeah.
Especially for an Ocean Soul, you know how important that is. Broxah just walks right into the brushes. That's not where he wants to be, but he somehow stays alive. Pobelter's coming in looking to make sure they can do something else, but Wild Turtle's already dead, and CLG is on the run. Immortals make an incredibly important pick there, and they're not done yet. Finn's gonna get stunned up. Yes, he'll still have the haymaker, but he just won't be able to do it in time. He's down. Shutdown credit over to Xerxes, and Immortals look to the Baron.
Yeah, 2 people down, and it was Broxah initially getting picked off before he got ulted by Raze to safety, but CLG wanted to back him up. There was just a moment of confusion from CLG's side, and now they're not gonna go for it. They know that they've already lost it with 2 people down, and
There's
that's such a great play for IMT to come back into the game.
Yup, Immortals, really, really important stuff there, and that's what I'm talking about, man. Even though it looks so scary when CLG all goes in together, if you catch that Vi, she's not tanky.
Let's go, and you know what? IMT can get a lot after this. I said one person that you want to catch out, Broxah. Sure, he has some defensive stats, but not enough to be able to survive this. He does because of the ultimate, of course. Broxah is able to get out, but then Pobelter had to go in harm's way. Wild Turtle!
What?
Oh, no.
What? No, Turtle! It's like watching one of those videos of the baby turtles crawling on the beach trying to get to the ocean, and then some big old eagle or something just swoops down and eats them. It's the really scary part of Animal Planet, and Wild Turtle is not enjoying that episode here today. CLG reeling after that one. Immortals now have the chance to really make an impact in this game.
Yeah, it's Animal Planet After Dark.
Oh, no!
When you put the kids to bed.
This is too violent, too gritty, too real for the Animal Planet programming during the day. But CLG now taking a defensive position. Destiny will be the one to face check the brushes. As you've already said, this is the kind of like the lone tank line for Immortals.
Yeah, and I think they're playing it really well. They're not chasing down because they have Braum, so really just force the enemy team to come to you. CLG knows that it's Soul Point now there for IMT. And here calls being made. It looks like they're going straight for revenge.
Yep, nice face breaker there. Finn looking to bring him back underneath the turret. Revenge with a flash away. They just kill off the tier 2, and Finn is in a lot of trouble. Despite his very good early game, things are falling apart now even further. It is a 5v4 on the map for the next 45 seconds.
All right, the squad from IMT's in there, and let's see if they can make the defense.
Okay, they're going after Revenge. They know he flashed before already. A very nice pick from Broxah to guarantee this is even numbers on the map.
And now I wonder what IMT's going to do. The Dragon is right behind them. 17 seconds left. They should just play for that soul. But they're just playing with their vision. They know that CLG still can't walk into them.
Oh, Pobelter channeling the taunt here in the front line. A lot of damage coming out onto Raze, but they will not be able to kill him off. Pobelter using the hourglass, but he will not stay alive. Shut down over to Xerxes and Immortals with 2 dead on the enemy team. Will push right into the base. Inhibitor turret is down. I see no reason not to complete the job and take the inhibitor itself. This has been a massive past couple of minutes for this team.
The dominoes are just falling, and it reminds me of what CLG was doing at the beginning of the split, where if one person makes a mistake and they're on death timer, another one falls immediately afterwards. And now with 25 seconds left on Pobelter, you cannot make another mistake or you lose your another inhibitor.
TP's coming in. Revenge is right back here with the rest of the Immortals boys, and that push is just not stopping. Pobelter dead for another 10 means no chance for CLG to try to 4v5 this one, and Immortals will back away. 2 enemy inhibitors down. Dragon is alive on the map. There's no Baron there, so there's nothing they can do on a cross-map play. This is an easy dub for Immortals.
I feel bad for that one guy that just took a washroom break, right?
He's going to come back so confused.
He's like, what happened? You know, they were there, they had their CLG jersey, everything was working well for them. One loss by topside, Baron, inhib, double inhib, and now it's going to be IMT at Soul Point off of just one mistake from CLG that they just never, took a step back.
And now they've got to try to figure out a way to regain the footing that they previously had, right? After losing 2 inhibitors, after now being threatened by your opponents, taking a single dragon more for the rest of this game and being able to get the soul, their backs are against the wall. CLG must make sure they're getting off this ideal team fight situation in the next fight.
Yeah, and I think that next play that's going to happen is going to be IMT really confident for any dive that happens, because they have 3 stopwatches they've purchased. They also have a Guardian Angels there from Xerxes.
Oh, it's so good.
This just seems like a killing blow with 2 inhibitors down, play for top lane turret, go for a dive. There really shouldn't be any sense of lacking confidence in how IMT wants to play the next one out.
Yep, and I really like to see the Lord Dominic's regards on Raze here for his third item. A lot of times, you know, Infinity Edge is the default go-to, but Lord Dom's so good against this beefy front line with 2 different Randomins users, and even when you look at Pobelter, he's got the Zhonya's Hourglass for the armor, right? So a lot of value here out of this pick. Immortals continue pushing forward. They only have 1 lane left with an inhibitor standing, so that's the one where the pressure's going to be.
So the one thing to make note of, they should know that Brox's flash is still down. Exhaust will be coming up soon for Wild Turtle. I wonder if it's going to be soon enough, because this seems like a large enough way for them to try everything on this one.
Yeah, Immortals are closing in. They are looking for the play to make. Oh, they try to go in with Broxa, but Raze is able to get away in time. He buffers through the animation, and Broxa is down. Smoothie will join him immediately while Pobelter buys time. Finn doesn't have the same luxury, and CLG are history. Immortals with the clean Bud Light ace to take the game.
Like a pack of rabid dogs, they just converge on Broxa, flashless jungler, pick him off. This has been a clean end to IMT's game. A great job to them.
Excellent stuff from Immortals. They shut down the CLG win streak and get themselves the win.
Wow. It happened so quickly. It felt so good for CLG so early on, making picks towards the top side. Jace really couldn't breathe for such a long time.
Yeah.
Dragon team fight was just exceptional. But then one person gets caught, Broxa walking up top side. Then Wild Turtle jumps in. That team fight was a debacle. Lose Baron, set dive bot lane, right? He gets dove, gets killed there. And it just never felt like they took a step back and really talked about what the next play was going to be as a team.
Yeah, that whole Baron play is where obviously the pendulum swung. But afterwards, we never saw those steps that sometimes look like your way at preventing this from hemorrhaging further. As soon as the bleeding started, it never stopped for CLG. And you bring up the set play, and remember that wasn't Immortals making the play to kill Finn. That was Finn going in to try to make the play to stop Revenge, make it a 1-for-1 on the map, right? But then it's just, no, it doesn't work quite the same way. They end up getting the kill onto him. Then it's Broxa who can come back and avenge Finn's own death. It was not what CLG needed, and of course, you know, they hate to see it because this was the comp that worked, right? The analysts talked about it during the draft. They got 4 out of 5 of the pieces that they wanted, but Immortals were able to answer. CLG had a couple really big blunders, and it just all worked out in a way that CLG was not prepared for.
Yeah, no one was prepared for it, right? With that huge lead, with a comp that they must have practiced multiple times in scrims, worked really well on stage, and worked well for the first, 15 minutes of the game or so, right? For them to lose, I think this just goes back to when CLG's behind, it kind of reminds me certain games of 100 Thieves and certain points of the split where it's just like, you know, you walk in like Meeps, or I don't know, you just walk in and die. It's like,
did you say like Meeps?
Like Meeps, guys.
Like the things that follow Bard?
Yeah, there we go. And so it gets confusing, and so you just need someone to redirect them. But for IMT's been in this position before. Like they've been in positions where it's like they finally scrape back into the lead, and then they never let it go. So it's a great look for IMT that has been playing towards their vision really well.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they were able to do it on this composition, that they were going into a CLG that they knew what to expect, right? It's, hey, you guys are going to play this wombo combo thing that you used to go 3-0. We have to have an answer to it, and the answer was the Karma and the Jace and the Xin Zhao. We've seen the Xin Zhao and the Karma combo work together in the past, just enables Xin to do what he needs to do. And I mean, Xerxes finishes that game deathless. He is our player of the game here in this matchup, making moves for Immortals. You talked about how Braum is the front line. Xerxes was also to guarantee he wasn't going to be dying by good use of his ultimate and always being able to jump in. He did some good work.
Exactly. There's one fight I remember. It was like Galio and Zhonya's, and usually that would mean you're buying for time, but he is literally in the middle of Xin Zhao ultimate, and no one's going to walk into that.
Yeah, you can't just walk in. He's going to stab you. That's what the spear is for.
And Xerxes had a consistent game. At the very beginning, he had like those early kills, 2 kills really early on in the Rift Herald fight, so I thought he just played phenomenally throughout.
Right, and also, again, back to the point that I was making about how, you know, Xin Zhao and Vibe, neither one of them come to mind when you're thinking of clear speed jungling or anything like that, but he also maintained higher tempo than Broxa did in terms of farming his camps and cycling those. Pretty much at every point, I remember seeing him being 10 or 20 CS above Broxa, so just guaranteeing he's not falling behind the pace of the game. He's trying to make plays, but he's still guaranteeing that he scales as well. Good stuff from him, and now it's time for us to toss things over to La Tigress and Revenge for our Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you, Captain Flowers. Here on the stage with Revenge following this victory against CLG. First thing I got to check in with you. I remember seeing on Twitter not long ago you were getting your wisdom teeth removed. How has your recovery been?
I would say I'm pretty recovered now. It was a rough like week and a half because I just mainly couldn't eat like normal foods, but thankfully we're past that and everything's good now. So it's been going well.
Lots of soup, lots of smoothies. There's a smoothie on the other side. A lot of
Oh, yeah.
CLG. Real hype on that side, being that they were on a heavy win streak. But there were some things that we knew about the compositions that were working for them. How much did that play into your prep against CLG today?
I'm not gonna lie, everyone was kind of memeing the comp because it's like kind of unique to them, and it's not really something that we expected or like knew exactly how to play against. But I think that we just knew that if we played our team fights better and the map better, that their champion picks wouldn't really matter that much, and it was kind of the case this game.
Before we even got to that team fight territory, though, there was some attention that was paid to you in the top lane. How did that affect the way that you progressed?
I mean, honestly, I don't feel like I played this game as well as I feel like I could have in lane, and it was definitely a bit scary playing against the Vi and set combo top as Jace, but I kind of just, I feel like I could have played better, but I think that I knew as long as I just stick to like our team game in a way that we're still going to be fine, and that got me through the early part.
Yeah, you did get targeted a couple times by those Vi ultimates, but
Yeah.
it was you as a team coming together. We already heard that Xerxes was player of the game there, but is he the one that is leading the charge when it comes to those team fights that were allowing Immortals to really flip the script?
I would say everyone pitches in, and we all kind of know, like when there's going to be a fight and when we're going to contest things, everyone's involved, which is really nice about this team. We're like working really well as a unit, and I think that that's what's going to separate us from a lot of the other teams right now. It's why we can like have early deficits in a lot of our games and still come back and win, and it doesn't really ever feel like we're at a big deficit. So that's what I really like so far playing in Summer.
A lot of teams are really focusing on their team fight ability as a full roster to get the win. And we are seeing the repeat of the matches that we are in the next round robin. You're facing against Golden Guardians tomorrow. You had some words for Solo on social media last time you faced off. How are you feeling about the matchup this time around?
I mean, it was pretty fun. I always like poking fun at him. He was someone that was working with the LCS team on FlyQuest last year while I was in Academy, so I was able to learn a lot under him, and I always memed about being, competing against him the next year, taking him down and stuff. So I'm glad that I could make it a reality and hopefully make it a reality again tomorrow.
Looking for the 2-0 against GG so far in Summer. Thank you, Revenge, for stopping by here on the stage.
Thank you, thank you.
We are going to kick to a break, but when we return, we'll continue breaking down this game on the State Farm Analyst Desk. See you there.
Change of range.
Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst Desk. Mark, you have such pretty eyes, and I'm so glad you
started on me.
there.
Hey, guys.
buddy.
Your head looks
Immortals coming out on top over CLG. We are going to dive into how exactly it is that the CLG press R composition fell for the very first time. But before we get into that more holistic take on the game, I want to hand things over to Hai, because Hai, you're the most prolific Pro View watcher on the squad here. And in this game in particular, you saw something that you kind of wanted to pick apart.
Right. Actually, I wanted to take a look at. I was watching the Jace's lane phase Revenges because it's always important to me to see how NA Jace's play the game, whether that's a meme or whether it's actually true. But he actually does a pretty bad mistake here. So he takes this trade against Set, which is perfectly fine. I think he did the trade bad. He could have kept fighting here, saved the E for well, I guess this is the wrong time. But anyway, he dies here because he messes up the wave prior. He can push in the wave, but he chooses not to do that. Since he doesn't push in the wave, his lane is frozen, and instead of him clearing the wave with his jungler, he takes his own jungler's Krug's camp, and the fact that he does that is like griefing his jungler. He griefed his lane, and then he runs back to lane anyway and dies to that gank anyway. So it was like a three-step thing where he made a mistake. One, he didn't A freeze his lane, and then B, he took his jungler's camp, and then 3, he walked back to lane and died anyway. So I would have liked, like, after this, he's probably gonna go review, watch it, be like, hey, I messed up. So for people that are watching, either A, ask your jungler to come help you clear the wave, or B, just deal with that TP back and, you know, your wave sucks, whatever. And don't tank your jungler's camp.
Well, again, the advantage of having Pro View and being able to look back in that kind of scenario and take an individual learning, which I'm sure Revenge will do. But it also sets up the point of how CLG was able to build an early advantage in this game, which is exactly the kind of thing we talked about this team wanting to be able to do. And then with that lead, find the right fights, Mark, where their team operates to its fullest.
It felt like this was a game that looked like some of the other ones CLG won, where the early game is a little close, and then they start winning the fights around objectives. I mean, the Rift Herald was unfortunate that it got stolen away with a very nicely timed Wind Becomes Lightning by Xerxes. And then here, in this fight, you know, it's like, oh, it's looking pretty good. They're at least picking up the kills, because it feels like with the Press R comp, if you go into early mid-game even, your buttons are going to do a lot more early on. And it felt like, hey, they're in a good spot again. I would have predicted CLG to win this game at that point.
I think, though, of any game that we've seen so far, Kaizen, this game perfectly shows how the Press R comp, when it has the initiative, looks fantastic. But when you are on the back foot, oh boy, does it become a lot harder to navigate those fights.
Yeah, and this entire sequence just made me dead inside. You know, like, the problem with this comp is, defensively speaking, it's not ideal, right? Because Vi, she's best when she has her Q wind up, she has time to wind up her Q, go in, her passive procs a shield, and same with Galio when he's, you know, ulting onto the backline. But here, you see Wild Turtle blast coding into the enemy team. After Broxy gets caught, has to go over the wall, pull Belter. He has a cast time on his ult, so he's in. So this is a complete disaster, and I think it shows that CLG, while I do think this is a good look for them, the comp, yeah, and they should continue to drill this comp. When they're behind, as Raz said, they sort of have these blunders and they look like a little bit like headless meeps. So I think they should be continuing to do this comp, but please, no more blast coming into the enemy team.
Okay.
Right, watching this game definitely made me feel like it's more that CLG lost the game rather than Immortals won the game. Not to take any credit away from Immortals, but even looking at like outside the misplays, right? You can take a look at their item builds. Now, there's 1 Ninja Tabes out of 5 players there, and the enemy team has 3 auto attackers and no AP damage mid. Like, yeah, there's a Karma, but she's building Shirelias, she's building
She's doing
Ardent.
a mantra E in fights.
Right. Like, where are the tabbies at? Like, if that Lucian had tabbies and he did that dive onto Jace top lane, he wouldn't have died there. But no one builds tabbies, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, and to Hai's point, this was a pretty unusual game, like the way that CLG lost it. I will say that IMT, they did what they were supposed to do mid-game, which is if you're playing Xin, you have the Karma Shield, you're supposed to be super aggressive, and you should actually look for the Vi, because the Vi doesn't really have ways to escape because her Q requires such a long wind-up time, and that's her gap closer / escape. So I really like what IMT was trying to do, just constantly look for picks with the supercharged Xin. It's just unfortunate that CLG made what should have just been Vi escaping over the wall with maybe a flash into a full-blown team fight loss.
Well, Gilhoto was the one who deemed it the bongo comp.
No one knows the bongo like Gilhoto.
he and the Immortals squad are the first ones to take it down. Now, you already know that this summer, we're bringing back MasterCard card on file. During the 2021 Summer Split, use your MasterCard to make a purchase from the Incline store and save your card card to be entered for a chance to win a trip to a League of Legends event or a set of this summer's Player of the Week statues and a MasterCard prepaid card. You go ahead and do that during this break, and when we come back, it's TSM versus FlyQuest to close out the day. We'll see you here.
They've got to get the Mountain Drake here if they want to have any chance of being able to salvage this game, but no! It's stolen away at the last moment